Welcome back, everybody, to the NBA 2K25 MyNBA series with the Mexico City Aztecs. We're coming off our full year 8, our full 8th season here in the NBA, and unfortunately had our worst finish in multiple years as we lost in the Western Conference Finals against the eventual champions, the Houston Rockets, led by guys like Frank Bauer, Deion Houston, Reed Shepherd, and Cam Whitmore, and a couple other key players. We lost in 6 games. The Rockets went on to 1-5 against the Detroit Pistons. John Cobb ended up being the highest per game scorer in the playoffs at 40 points per game. He was incredible, but I think we saw that without our other best player, Kylan Moore, it was going to be difficult to get the offense that we lost and the defense that we lost on the interior with his injury. A fractured left leg about a month and a half before the end of the regular season, and kind of like the Rockets losing Deion Houston and Reed Shepherd in last year's playoffs, this really hurt us and led us to a Western Conference Finals defeat. I have a couple of ideas in mind on how to improve the team a little bit should we have an injury like that happen again, but I think each of the last 2 years a major injury has led to our downfall. We obviously lost the previous season in year 7 in the NBA Finals against the Brooklyn Nets, and I think losing Herb Jones was a big part of that. Was it all of it? No, and neither was losing Kylan Moore this year to our losing efforts this season. But overall, I think if we had him, we at least make the finals and probably beat Houston, and probably, I would wager, probably take down the Pistons in the finals. But you can't always live in hypotheticals, so we're going to move on to the offseason now and see how we can move forward and hopefully improve this roster for another run at what would be our 2nd title in the series. The players currently not on the roster for this next season are going to be Mark Williams, who I do plan to replace. That's one of the biggest moves that I'm going to plan to make this episode. We obviously will have the qualifying offers for Kozlov, and that's probably it. But I do want to bring back Marvin Bagley. I think he's a really good, serviceable third-string center. I think he played his role pretty well behind Mark Williams once Kylan Moore got hurt, but I think we got to find a better, hopefully a younger, more athletic, more defensive-minded center. Like Mark Williams does have occasional good help defense, but he's not a guy that you can really rely on to be quick off the ball and keep up with centers on, pick and rolls, which, you're going to get beat on time and time again, but the better guy you have, the less that will happen as often. So we also got Jaden McDaniels entering free agency as well, so we'll see how that pans out. Plus Marcus Sasser, who was one of the first guys that we took out of our lineup entering the postseason. So got to worry about those holes to kind of reshape with. And then we also have John Cobb entering the last year of his current contract. He'll be making $56 million, but then also Herb Jones and Maurice Mullen are going to be on their last years. We have team options for Brandon McCaw and Irvin Norris. But outside of that, we still have players under contract for at least 3 more years, and Kylan Moore, David Dennis, Jalen Williams, and Dylan Young. So let's dive in and see how we can improve this team for year number 9. And in terms of sliders, I did make a few adjustments. I'm going to try something a little bit new with our contracts. It's very different than our last slider set, but clearly that was not getting the job done. So we're going to see if this is better. I have not really done any testing for this. We're just going to see how it goes because it's already pretty bad. So it can't really get much worse. In terms of the sim sliders, I do think that I want to try something new for that, for free throws. I think that's the biggest thing. If I can find the right section. Here we go, simulation. So somebody pointed out that free throws have been like astronomically high, not only for our team, but for the entire NBA. There are way too many players shooting like 90+% at the free throw line. Now, we of course have good free throw shooters, but they aren't quite that amazing. You are really only supposed to have like a fairly small number of players shooting that well at the free throw line. So we got to work on the free throw percentage and probably bump it down to maybe just 50. I mean, 50 might have been just a solid number to be at. I'm not sure that 5 would make a big enough difference. We're going to try 50, and we're going to try to adjust it in the CPU sliders as well. And I also want to make one more change to these. After we do free throw window size, we'll lower this to like maybe 68 or 70 for now and adjust from there, because it was pretty high in game as well. But I do also think that maybe ball security should be lowered by a little bit, or lower that down by a couple of ticks to like 44, because I do want to see some more turnovers. So I think ball security and probably pass accuracy could be adjusted to fix that. So lower those both by 6, and we'll go from there. I think that's fine, but maybe up defensive awareness a little bit as well. That might also help. So we'll go down to defensive awareness. We'll up this maybe 30 and just see if that looks better. But I will lower the on-ball defense back to... Actually, I guess we'll bump this back down to like 10. It was at 5 for the regular season before we head to the playoffs. And then we had contest shot, which should be down in the tendencies. And we'll put this back where it was, which should be at 44, I think. I am going to just add this to the CPU v CPU 4.2.3 as just a kind of a update to it. So if you want to use that, that is the name for it right there, plus my gamer tag. If you want to just use that to search instead, but we'll do the 4.2.3, and that should settle that for now. But now we can actually dive in and figure out where to go from here. Player retirements: Miles Turner, Siakam, Jamal Murray, John Collins, Obi Toppin, Peyton Pritchard. Those are the biggest names here. Not a lot of major retirements here. You pretty much have like 6 veterans, and that's kind of it. Then a bunch of guys that have only played for a little while who are probably just like G League talents. Staff retirements. Don't recognize many people on this list. And we're going to see where our first round pick lies here. Here's the draft lottery. The first overall pick belongs to the Cleveland Cavaliers. How long has it been? Maybe since they drafted Kyrie Irving. I think that's how long it's been. In real life plus the series. We will have pick number 31 because it's by record in the regular season, I think. Or maybe, yeah, it's by that. Or is it? I don't really know how that works if the Pistons don't have pick 31. But we had the best record, but the Rockets won the title, so they had pick 32, but it belongs to the Grizzlies instead because of a trade. But we have pick 31, that's their only first round pick, and we'll have to make the most of that. And real quick, just a quick preview at the draft class, because we haven't really talked about this class hardly at all, because we're kind of focused on the years at hand because we're a top contending team. But top standing 15-footer, Johnny Holmes. Moving 15-footer, Theodore Carr. Standing college 3, John Brooks. Moving college 3, Ethan Parker and Theodore Carr. So Carr's on there twice so far. Standing NBA 3-pointer, Cody Cedric, all by himself. And then moving NBA 3, Kendrick Lee went 18 for 25. I don't plan on trading up, so we're just going to dive right in and just take a look at the options once we get to our pick. We'll see the first couple of picks. We're not going to focus on this draft too much because the odds of whoever we draft making a major impact on the series at this point is honestly pretty slim, but we can at least set our franchise up well for the future down the line. The Cavaliers have the first pick, and with it, they are going to select Dustin Miller out of Indiana. He was the unanimous first overall pick, I believe, so this makes a lot of sense. He's 6'7", an absolute star. He averaged 34 points per game. Okay, that is extremely impressive for a college player. In fact, that might be like one of the greatest college years of all time. Adema Woolley out of Loyola, Illinois goes to the Celtics at pick 2. He's a 6'11 center. Mavericks at pick 3. And they take Norman Wilder out of Creighton. Baltimore has pick 4. And with it, they are going to select John Brooks. So no trade-ups so far. He's at Michigan State. Pelicans pick 5. To round out the top 5, they go Kendrick Lee out of Rutgers. Now we're going to send all the way ahead. How do the Rockets have pick 7? They just won a title. How do they have pick 7? I don't like that at all, because they're probably not going to miss. I'll check on their pick once the draft is all said and done. All right, we are on the clock. Pick 31. Who is available? Do we have anybody scouted? The answer is we do have plenty of players at 100%, but nobody that looks like they're probably worth it with that percentage. By overall, yeah, this seemed to be not too deep of a class. Gonna have to really search through the options here. Might just take a big swing because he's probably not gonna make a single second on the court at all this year, but we'll just take a look and see who we can find. Probably just find a guy that has a high ceiling and go from there. Like perhaps AC Aldridge here, only 16%, but all-star ceiling. And yeah, I mean, he's pretty much just a good athlete. That's all he's got going for him right now. There is some potential, some rebounding and post defense and some inside scoring, but you can't spread the floor. I mean, there's got to be a guy with a boom or bust kind of ceiling, right? Surely we can find somebody with like an all-NBA ceiling, but like a very low floor. There's Anders Anderson or Anders Andersson out of Sweden. Steve Francis comparison. We have him at 18%. B- inside scoring. Better offensive player. Okay, I actually like him more based on the very limited scouting profile. So he's my top guy right now. What about the guys that we have fully scouted? Any impressive ceilings? Ooh, okay. Ion or Ian Constantine from Romania. All-star ceiling, but a G League floor. That's the widest range we've seen so far. And what does he have going for him? Well, he's apparently a terrible defender across the board. I think I'm out on Constantine. Yeah, after looking through, like, Anders and AC Aldridge are the only guys that have that ceiling, so we're just going to go after Anders here and just take a swing and a miss. Well, probably a miss. Who knows for sure. He's 6'5". He's a point guard. Decent one-on-one defender. Gets to the rim okay. Good at getting on ball steals and cutting off passing lanes, but is slow to grasp new offenses. Oh well, let's do it. We do have the final pick of the drafts. And I mean, is there any point in even looking at who these guys are? Is there even a reason to look? They're all at like 10% scouted, and they're probably not going to actually get a contract from us, if I had to guess. Who was the guy that had the starter ceiling? George Stefan from Romania. Who even cares? Let's just take the pick and go from there. He's probably not going to make the team at all. The first overall pick was Dustin Miller from Cleveland. 5 badges, Swiss Army knife, only 19 years old. A lot of years to develop. Dimer, limitless range, physical finisher, posterizer, set shot specialist. Just a great overall player. Reminds me a lot of Cooper Flagg. Very, very similar archetype, I think. Ade Mawali, 18 years old. Really good post defender and rebounder. Just a good athlete and overall defensive menace on the glass. And overall, Norman Wilder. Well-rounded. Really just solid crop of players here at the very top. John Brooks will get torn up inside the paint, but otherwise, outside of IQ, has a lot going for him. Kendrick Lee. Great three-point shooter. And good athletes. And now the Rockets, they took a point guard. Cody Cedric. 6'7" point guard. That is insane size. Out of Wake Forest. Really good offensive talent. Do they need more of these guys? No. Are they going to get them? Yes. But they're going to lose Deion Houston. because he's now going to be an unrestricted free agent. So I am excited for that, because even though we can't sign him, that means they can't really afford to bring him back because they're going to lose his bird rights because he is a free agent with no restrictions. In terms of our pick, we took Anders Anderson. No badges, interior threat, despite being a point guard. But, I mean, look at this. There's a lot to like, a lot to work on, clearly, but a really good baseline for him, despite the IQ being low. Everything else is in a really good starting place across the board. But his potential, just say D+, but I'm going to hold out some hope for him just because he's at a really good starting level, I think, for a guy that's below a 70 overall. If we look at his badges, well, we know that he has none. And that's all we can really check on him for now. I guess we'll just keep tabs on that, maybe like in a year from now, and see where that goes. In round 2, we took George Stefan. He's a 66 overall. And, you know, there is a solid foundation here, shooting-wise, not from 3, but there is solid playmaking, mid-range shooting, and inside scoring. That's about it, though. But he has, I guess, better on paper potential, but not very much more than Anders Anderson. Are there any standouts here in the second round? Probably not, based on what I saw. Theodore Carr went in round 2, despite being one of the better shooters in the combine. And you can kind of see why. He's definitely a work in progress, that is for sure. Yeah, oh my god, who is this guy? Xavier Odom. 13 badges. This guy could be an absolute steal for Charlotte. Wow. I mean, across the board, solid foundation, but the badges are going to catapult this guy to stardom, if I had to guess. I've never seen a player like this before, but I love the idea of a guy that is undervalued but has a lot of badges that can get him going quickly. Potential only says C+, but we know that potential on paper can be very deceiving. So we'll hopefully keep tabs on him. He's a second-round pick out of Texas. Only 19 years old, 6'9", small forward. Maybe in a couple of years, he'll be a star talent. We'll have to keep our eyes peeled for him in a couple seasons. Rookie signing, I don't see why we would not bring in Anders Anderson, but we're gonna definitely just let Stefan go and have him probably just become like a G League player on his own and just figure it out from there. I'm not gonna worry about him a lot. In terms of player options or team options, we're gonna accept the one for McCall. Obviously, I do expect a bigger role for him. Hopefully some more badges, because he still has 0. In terms of Irvin Norris, 66 overall, 20 years old. We just let one guard go, but then also drafted one who is already a better overall than him. We'll probably decline his, and then he'll probably be a free agent once we get to the start of the year, and if he has developed by then we'll probably just bring him back, but until then, he'll be off the roster. Now, do we think about offering Kozlov a qualifying offer? It's only $3 million, but to be honest, he has just been really bad when he's gotten playing time. He has not developed like at all. He's still 70 overall after, what, 2 seasons now? So I think he's cooked. I think it's over for him. I think he's going to find a new home and be elsewhere. But again, like with Norris, if he develops and is still out there and we can bring him back, we'll try this again maybe. But now let's dive into moratorium and see who the free agents are. Tyrese Halliburton actually leads the pack with 14 offers, a 95 overall. You got Darius Williams, he's going to head back to Washington. Zion is a free agent once again. So is Griffin Isley, who has been on a couple of teams by now. Or has he? No, just Orlando. But for the last 5 years, they chose not to. So I guess he also, like Deion Houston, took the qualifying offer over any long-term extension. So he's now going to test and see what he is worth, and he's a really good player, 92 overall. We're getting a 5-year offer right now from Orlando. We'll see if he returns there. Devin Booker's a free agent, and then we have Deion Houston. Finally out of Houston. He's got 9 offers right now. The biggest one right now offered by the New York Knicks. And this guy was a complete menace, especially against us. I mean, he tore us apart like limb by limb, game by game. So we'll see if that ends up panning out. Hopefully he heads to the opposite conference. That would really help us out. Corey Carter is going to re-sign with Orlando probably. But Dillingham, once again a free agent. Floyd Sampson now a free agent after 5 years in Orlando. So they had a lot of young talent over there with the Magic, but they're going to, I mean, they have a very deep roster. They lost in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Pistons. Dusty Beasley is a free agent. He played for the Blue Crabs most recently, I think. Yeah, 3 years there. And he was really good. Jalen Brunson still out there. Joey Daniels, not familiar with him, but he's in New Orleans. Not really the best shooter, but a high overall. Cody Williams, brother of Jalen Williams, is a free agent. Harrison Sally once again on the market. So is Kem Weber. Andre Walsh, we drafted him and then traded him away in that Herb Jones deal. But now he's left New Orleans. Could he be the backup in place of Mark Williams? We don't really have much cap room, but we do have a qualifying offer, I think, or no, it's called a mid-level exception to offer somebody, which is like a 3-year deal. I think we can offer that to him. That's probably going to be one of my top options because he's developed so well. He was a former second-round pick of ours like 6 years ago. So we'll keep tabs on that. But there are a lot of players available. You know, Jalen Duren's out there, Walker Kessler. 4 options for us. Mark Williams probably not going to come back. All right, let's dive in and make some offers, and also probably offer to. Well, actually, we're not going to offer anybody. I think that we let go, at least for now. And the Rockets are going after Andre Walsh. By the way, I will not stand for this, but we also can't really offer much more than them. I think right now we can only afford to offer $6 million a year, just like the Rockets did. So not even going to bother doing that just yet. We'll wait on that until we know more about our cap situation, which is not going to be very good. I'm going to renounce the rights to all the players that we currently don't have under contract, including McDaniels and Sasser and Bagley. And we'll see if we can bring those guys back. I think McDaniels, he's 31 years old. He'll probably face some regression this year, so I'm not sure if he's the right guy to bring back, but I think he was a big part of why we had so much success this year, even though we lost in the playoffs. Well, folks, we enter free agency fully, all of the unrestricted players here, and we are $60 million over the cap limit, which means that we cannot really do a whole lot here. But we do got to bring in 2 more centers, probably at least 1 more guard, and 1 more forward perhaps. We currently have, if I can do the math correctly here, we've got 10 players under contract, which means that we probably have 5 roster spots. So probably going to be 5 minimum deals. We'll see what happens. But Andre Walsh has signed with somebody else. He signed with the Sixers. He was asking for like 38 mil. He gets 34 a year on a 4-year deal in Philly. So no chance for us to bring him back. But Tyrese Halliburton re-signs with Indiana. Darius Williams re-signs. Zion re-signs. Griffin Isley heads to the New York Knicks. Harrison Sally. Did he play for the Hawks last year? I forget. Let's take a look. He did not. He played for the Spurs. But now he is on a 4-year deal over in Atlanta. Herb Hood is now over in Baltimore. Ron Hollins returns to Phoenix. Mark Williams signs a 3-year deal with the Timberwolves, so no chance for us to bring him back, even though that was not really the plan. Walker Kessler gets $15 million a year over in Milwaukee. And then other kind of role players down here. All right, what can we do here? I think backup center is our biggest concern, and then we can just go from there. Deion Houston's still available, but we obviously cannot really afford a $46 million a year contract. So what can we afford? Not a lot. All these guys' expectations are pretty darn low. But Mitchell Robinson, that's a really good defender. He is 34. Not really much of a system match, but a defensive anchor. He's a solid rebounder. And although Adam Bona fits our scheme, I just don't really believe in him. I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen. I think Robinson or Wendell Carter are going to be our best options here. Robinson coming off a 10 rebound per game season, very efficient scoring. That's what I'm just looking for here, and hopefully no free throw attempts for this guy because I know that he's terrible both in real life and in this game. Well, at least offer him a contract, try to bring him in to be a backup, and we'll probably just have to go after one more guy real quick. Maybe get both him and Carter. I don't see why not. Could be worthwhile. Carter, definitely a better offensive player. But wow, his shooting splits have been absolutely terrible. I think I might pass. I mean, could Bona be a good third option? He actually had a pretty good year over with the Clippers. Maybe he's worth something. Better than I thought. Chase Jackson Davis, a little too undersized for me. Aaron Mobley, 10 and 8. Racks up blocks. Okay, I like those numbers. I guess that was the per 36 for all those guys, but still good to see that comparison there. I don't see why not. Let's try Aaron Mobley. We'll offer him a contract, see where that goes. We're probably okay with forward. Could use a backup guard. I think we've learned our lesson with Sasser. Probably not the best option. AJ Simpson, probably a similar player as to Sasser. More of an offensive talent, but coming off a relatively down season. There is Craig Porter Jr., 6'1", also offensive heavy. Oh, Thailand, we learned about him. What about Davion Mitchell? A two-way guard. Actually shot pretty well. He played for the Rockets last year. That makes me want him even more. We'll offer him. That's all we can do until somebody makes a decision here. And we're going to sign all three of Robinson, Mitchell, and Mobley. 3 new faces to give us some better bench depth, hopefully. Better defense. Deion Houston, still a free agent, holding out for better offers. And Corey Carter was allowed to fully test. Orlando making some strange contract choices here. Otherwise, though, who else is signed? Somebody's off the board, but I forget. Oh, Booker. Devin Booker signs with the Pelicans. We played with for the last 4 years, so he's going back there. You know what? We could probably afford to bring in McDaniels again. And out of all the guys available, has the most badges. He shot the ball incredibly well. He's probably one of the better options here. And if he's asking for this little, in terms of the contracts, 3-year deal is not my speed, but 2 years could be it. See what regression looks like for him, and then take it from there. We'll offer him a contract. And he's going to return to Mexico City. Welcome back. We also let Herb Jones walk, but he might be out of our price range. Looks like that is the case. But there is Gary Trent Jr. coming off a 41% year from behind the arc. I think he's a solid defender, not like going to blow that out of the water or anything, but he fits our system. Did he ever play for us? Yeah, he did. Back in the early, well, kind of the mid-years. Back in like year 2, year 3. That he was part of a trade with the Phoenix Suns where we got a pick. That was also where we sent Andre Walsh, I think. No, that was the New Orleans deal. But still, we'll go after Gary Trent. That'll be our last offer if he accepts, which he does. Deion Houston still holding out, so is Corey Carter and Rob Dillingham. So are several free agents about halfway through. Well, it's the last day. Deion Houston still has, wow, nobody is offering him a long-term deal. Is this really going to happen again? And these sliders, how did the game screw it up so bad where not even major slider adjustments can fix it? They worked for the first couple years, but after the first 3 to 4 years, they stopped working. Corey Carter, also waiting for a big deal, does not really have a multi-year offer either. So, no idea what's going on there. I tried my best. I don't have time to test any longer. We'll see where those guys end up. But now player progression. John Cobb goes up by 1. Kylan Moore goes up by 1. No major adjustments for either of those guys. Any badge adjustments? I think Cobb had 18 last year. Still has no Hall of Fame badges. But maybe a new badge or two. He's got glove, off-ball pest, and pogo stick now. Those, new badges always begin as bronze. So I'm not sure if those are new, but they could be. Kylan Moore, I think definitely at least gained a couple. He went up. Now he's got 3 Hall of Fame or 4 Hall of Fame badges. He should be even better this year with those. And Challenger, Rebound Chaser, Layup Mixmaster, Break Starter, Bailout. We'll see if those are new or not. Actually, I don't know if we're going to see that. But Williams, -2. Braden McCaw, up by 5. He could find himself in a starting role. And this would mean that John Cobb can stay at shooting guard in our starting lineup. And, yeah. Oh, yeah, I forgot. We still have Herb Jones and Mullen here. I thought that they were free agents, but they were on the last year entering this season. So we still have those guys, thankfully. But McCaw going up by 5. He better show up this year, man. He got 1 badge, which should help out his shooting on catch and shoot threes. But once again, a big uptick for him. We could really use a guy that we have not really paid a lot of money yet step up here. It is going to be the final year, though, of his rookie deal. So it is his absolute last chance to prove himself. He shot very well from 3 last year and at the line. We'll see if that actually progresses into anything more than just that, though. No changes for Mullen. Herb Jones still pretty much who he was. Maybe lost some physicality. Young Young, still the guy that we've known him to be since he was drafted. Pretty much no progression for him throughout his entire career. It's actually one of the stranger things. But he had a very good starting point. So, just look at this. He's been like a 79, 80 overall player the entire time. And he has had some years where he shot the ball better, but needs to lock down some consistency before we bring him back after his new deal is up and over. Mitchell Robinson, not a lot of regression. Now, McDaniels did lose 3, but I think it was still would bring on him back just to see what that would look like. Now we have our answer. I think we have a better option potentially in McCaw. We'll see what happens from there. Mobley and Robinson definitely battling for that number 2 center spot. Mobley is the younger of the two, and defense at least seems to be, at least per 36, on par with Robinson. 2.2 blocks. Robinson only 1.1. But he also barely got any playing time, so we'll see what happens there. Gary Trent down by 1, and then Jabari Ellis goes up by 3. Now he's got 2 badges. I think he had 0 initially. And those are set shot specialist and slippery off ball. I doubt he gets a chance to play, but at least good to see some stuff going up for him. Well, that's kind of your roster right there, folks. So point guard, we've got David Dennis backed up by Davy and Mitchell and Anders Anderson. Shooting guard, we have Maurice Mullen, Herb Jones, Gary Trent, and John Cobb, of course. And then we also got Cobb, if you want him, at small forward alongside McCaw, Dylan Young, and McDaniels. At power forward, we got Jalen Williams and McDaniels, potentially Herb Jones and Jabari Ellis. And at center, we have Kylan Moore back off the injury, backed up by both Mitchell Robinson and Aaron Mobley. And we'll see who ends up winning that battle. But overall, I think we address defense a lot, I think, here with both of our center signings and with the signing of Davy Mitchell, who we know is a pretty solid 2-way player. So we'll go from here. Hopefully this will all work out, and we'll see where Dion Houston signs. Hopefully it's not going to be one of those cheap 1-year deals. If so, I'm at a complete loss. But look at that. We lost in the quarterfinals of the Summer League tournament against the Rockets. Why do they always have our number, at least this season? It's very annoying. In terms of Team USA, John Cobb is now a starter, but again, they have really screwed this up. Not a fan of how they've kind of handled the players in terms of like who they're playing for. Like Frank Bauer should be on the German team. Look who they have at center. Nobody. They got Franz Wagner, nobody else in their lineup that's even worth a damn. And Bauer over here on Team USA. Maybe he's a U.S. citizen, but also he was drafted out of Germany. And he's German. Updates on free agent signings. Bronny James in Portland now on a 3-year, $57 million contract. And I'm really looking for those top couple of players that we saw, like Deion Houston and Corey Carter. Where did they end up signing? I really hope they got like at least a 3-year contract somewhere like Xavier Green did. But I don't see them here. Melo Keels now at the Heats. Dusty Beasley signed with Denver on a 1-year deal worth $36 million. Deion Houston did get a 4-year deal. He's now in Phoenix. They were a team that showed up for a little while in the year, but then ended up not really doing a whole lot. But now he's still in our conference. He's still in our conference, just on a different team that has playoff potential. Dillingham now signs alongside Zion with Golden State. Corey Carter signs the same deal as Deion Houston, but now with the Knicks, who signed some other top guys. So they made a couple big splash moves. So thankfully, that actually did work out eventually. But let's see who is still available in terms of those contracts. Yeah, man, there are still guys that should absolutely not be here. And teams are going to get some free signings with these guys. I'm not going to do that. You guys know how I feel about that kind of a thing. I think part of it is also that with some of the auto-gen classes, plus classes that, people make, a lot of people don't really think about year-by-year balance. Like, how many guys are realistically going to be like an 80 overall? I think it's too many players that have that kind of potential or that kind of baseline. So I think it's part of draft class generation, draft class creation. You really have to make the majority of players in your class to just be complete failures and NBA dropouts. Like, most draft classes are not going to be in the NBA in the next 4 years or 4 years later. So I think that's part of it. There's just too many guys that are going to pan out to be like a 75 to like an 80 overall, and that kind of dilutes the free agent markets, and it dilutes rosters where now every team looks a little more stacked than they probably should. It's just been a problem forever with 2K. You just kind of have to roll with the punches there. I forgot to check and see, by the way, all the progression for other teams. So I am curious what other teams look like. Blue Crabs, they still have Andrew Lee. Cam Christie, now the top-rated guy. Giannis has regressed. The Bucks also signed Jalen Brunson and Walker Kessler. A lot of old talent on that team. I want to see just who are like the top-rated players in the league. Cobb and Moore, obviously both top 5. People Miller, now 96 and more badges than both Cobb and Miller. So he's number 3 behind York and Wemby. Any other surprise players like above like an 87? Oh yeah, fun storyline here. The Knicks poached both Griffin Isley and Corey Carter from Orlando. These guys are both 90+ overall. Just played 4 and 5 years respectively, or 5 and 4 years respectively, in Orlando together, and now they're both going to be starters for the Knicks, who just let Brunson go. So kind of a fun story developing there. Deion Houston, we saw him. I'll check out on the Suns roster, but now Dan George plus Houston is kind of a pretty solid duo. One of the better duos, kind of like us with Cobb and Moore. But any other names that we aren't really familiar with or have seen a whole lot here? It's not looking like it. Oh, the Suns also have Fausto Mané, so that's a pretty great big three. Boyd Sampson is like a 90 overall if you don't count the -3 there, and he's still a free agent. And he was also in Orlando. See who he ends up with, I guess, in a couple of weeks. But outside of that, no new names appearing in, the top 40 players. I mean, look how many players there are that have like an 85 overall or higher. It's honestly too many, I think. Way too many. But regardless, the CPU counts us as title contenders, which I completely agree with. Other contenders include the Memphis Grizzlies once again. I think that makes sense with John Moran and Elijah Banks. They were contenders in the West for most of the season. The Heat now also apparently contenders. I kind of see it, but they do have a couple holes. They just signed Melo Keels. Magic still contenders despite letting 3 great players walk to keep around guys that don't make a lot of sense to keep around. And all 3 guys that they let go had higher overalls. So not sure how that makes any sense. I did up CPU aggressiveness even more, so that didn't really make a difference for them, I guess. The Pistons are also contenders over in the East. I mean, they lost in the finals against the Rockets. And otherwise, you got the Rockets. I mean, they got development for Morales, it seems, up to 81 overall. They still have a good bench. I mean, they're still going to be a good team despite missing Deion Houston. It's just unfair at this point. But besides them and the Wizards and the guys that I already talked about, that's kind of it. So, kind of the same contending teams that we saw a year ago. We'll see if anything looks different. I'll probably end up doing 2 parts. I'll try and get part 1 at least recorded over the weekend and hopefully uploaded as well. But I am going to be busy as I have been the last couple weeks and for the next couple weeks while I'm in the midst of a move. But in the middle of that, I might have some time and I'll try and make do with what I can. A lot of road games to open this season, that is for sure. A lot of road games, including an early game against the Rockets in the first week of the season, as well as the Mavericks and Spurs. All teams that are kind of fringe playoff teams or better. Go down here around the All-Star break. We face the Rockets coming out of the All-Star break. Could be a nice game to watch in a rematch against Houston. Give us a preview of what could be a 4th straight Western Conference rematch. We'll see if that actually happens, but the Rockets probably not going anywhere. We closed the year against the Chicago Bulls, who were a solid playoff team a year ago. So we'll see what unfolds here. But one last look at our roster. I have not made my decision on, who should be in our starting 5. But you know that we're going to have Cobb, Moore, probably Williams, and probably Dennis. And there's probably just one spot up for grabs at either guard or forward. So guard or wing, essentially. But these 4 guys probably going to be in your starting 5, if I had to guess. But you still have Herb Jones. You have McCaw coming off his best progression so far. Mullins still a good option, but definitely had some bad moments in the playoffs. Dylan Young still here. We know all about him. I think he gained a badge or 2 in the offseason. So after losing 3, he gains 2 more this year. We got Mobley and Robinson as our backup centers. Davy Mitchell to be your backup points. And then we have McDaniels, Trent, Ellis, and Anderson to choose from as well. So give your thoughts on your ideal starting 5 and your ideal, 5 to 6 man bench. And we'll go from there. And I think I'll just leave it at that, guys. What do you think of the offseason? Not a whole lot of big moves here, that's for sure. But we're trying, and hopefully this will be enough to get us over the hump once again. But as I said last episode, definitely, one of our most interesting kind of up and down 8 years to open a franchise that I've done so far on this channel. definitely way less successful than the Neptunes, who won a number of titles. We had to move on from them to Pittsburgh because they were so good and it was kind of way too easy. That has not been the case with this team, despite having arguably the best duo in terms of overall rating that we've had maybe ever in the entire channel with Moore and John Cobb. But we'll go from there. Cobb coming off his MVP, Moore coming off a major leg injury. How do either of those guys respond to that, and how can the players around them hopefully lead us to a better finish than we had a year ago? We'll go into part 1 next time, guys. Please like the video, subscribe if you're new, and comment your feedback down below and your thoughts on the episode and thoughts on where we go from here. And I will see you all next time. Thanks for watching and have a great day.